Hi guys, so I'm going to do my 2015 reading wrap up. I'm going to go through all of the books that I read really quickly in 2015 and give you my star ratings so you can kind of see which ones of those are my favorite books, and then I'm going to go through all of my reading statistics and everything and just do a year kind of wrap up. So let's jump right in because I don't want this video to be too awfully long. So the first book I read in 2015 I don't actually own. It is Idols by Margaret Stohl, which I gave a 3.75 out of 5 stars. Then I read Unmarked by Kami Garcia, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Reckless by Cornelia Funk, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Bleed by Lori Farias Dolores, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Tithe by Holly Black, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read The Replacement by Brenna Yovanov, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Sorry if I keep looking down, that's where all my star ratings are located on this piece of paper. Then I read Alienated, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. That's by Melissa Landers, by the way. And then I read Supernatural, John Winchester's Journal by Alex Irvin, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read White Cat by Holly Black, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Giver by Lois Lowry, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And next, I read Intertwined by Jenna Showalter, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And next, I read Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Betrayal of Natalie Hargrove by Lauren Kate, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Nobody's Princess by Esther Freisner, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then next, I read The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read This Is War by Lisa and Laura Roker, which I gave a 4.85 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Merchant of Venice by Shakespeare, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Iron Child by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then read The Declaration by Jen O'Malley, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read The Adventures of Pinocchio by C. Collodi, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Nightwing, issue number 1 by Kyle Higgins, Jason Masters, Daniel Sampreve, and Vincent Chafantes, which I gave a 4.9 out of 5 stars. And then I read Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Obsidian and Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout, both of which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Animaniacs, issue number 9, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Ruins of Gorlan, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Holmes, I should say, which I gave a 4.75 out of 5 stars. And then I read Pinky and the Brain, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Amazing Mr. Holmes, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. And then I read Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Adventure of the Opera Ghost, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Maze Runner, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. The Scorched Child, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Death Cure, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Project 17 by Laura Farias Delars, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. The Flash 50th Anniversary Special Edition, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Crier's Cross by Lisa McMahon, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Kill Order by James Dashner, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Thomas's First Memory of the Flare, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Arrow, issue number 1, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Chamber of Secrets, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which I gave a 5 out of 5. Quidditch Through the Ages, which 5 out of 5 stars. Prisoner of Azkaban, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Tales of Beedle the Bard, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Citizen Cold by Scott Collins, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And finally, I read the majority of Goblet of Fire, which I gave a 5 out of 5. I'm giving a 5 out of 5 stars, even though I'm not completely done with it yet. So that is everything that I read in the whole year of 2015. So for the reading statistics, I read a total of 49.5 books, which is almost my goal. My goal was 50 books. 49.5 is not bad. It's really close. I almost nearly made it. Had I not been ill the last week of December, I would have been able to finish my goal. But that's okay. I'm not mad that I didn't complete it. It's fine. It's close. It's the most I've read in a long time, and I'm very, very happy with that. The total number of pages I read is 11,088 pages, which is a lot of pages. I didn't read a lot of long books, and with the exception of Goblet of Fire, of course. And there was a couple of longer books, but they were mostly relatively short ones, which is okay. That's normally what I read anyway. And my average rating for books is a 4.6 out of 5 stars, which for all in all is a really, really, really good reading year. And then the number of stars that I gave 5 stars to 29 books, which is a lot of books. So it's hard to do a favorites video when you've given that many books 5 out of 5 stars. I gave one book a 4.9 out of 5 stars, one book a 4.85 out of 5 stars, one book a 4.75 out of 5 stars, one book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, 12 books 3 books I should say, 4.5 out of 5 stars, 4 books 12 books 4 stars, 1 book 3.75 stars, 1 book 3.5 stars, and 1 book 3 stars. So all in all, I had a really, really, really great reading year. So as you can tell by all the star books that I gave 5 stars to, I gave, like I said, a lot 5 stars. So I had a really, really, really great reading year. The majority of the books I read, I gave 5 stars, and I really, really loved them. There was only a couple of flops, 3 flops really, this year, and those were really disappointing, but you know, it's good to read some flops. The 3 flops were Idols, which is the first book that I read this year. It was pretty disappointing. It didn't deliver in how I thought it would deliver. And then Nobody's Princess, which is really disappointing because I thought it sounded so good. The premise was there. It was so good. It was such a good premise, but it just didn't quite make it. And The Amazing Mr. Holmes, which is a graphic novel, and just wasn't really there. It was kind of boring. Those are the 3 disappointing reads. And like I said, I read a lot of great books, and I was so close to my goal, but that's okay that I didn't complete it. I was close, and that's good enough. And I actually started reading Harry Potter, which is really, really great. And yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that I read The Hunger Games, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I read that before I started Harry Potter, which is not in my stack. Oh well. But yes, anyway, that is it for my 2015 reading wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed this as a little look back in the year 2015. And yeah, that is it for this video. Hope you guys had a really great 2015 and hope your 2016 reading year is amazing as well. That is it for this video. Till next time. Bye.